Good morning. Oh. Good morning. For you who don't know, the north of England has become walrus crazy. Everyone's gone mad for walruses. It's because a walrus has appeared on the shores of the north of England called Thor. He's called Thor and everybody's obsessed with him. I don't really know why everyone would get obsessed with a big fat lump who just lies around all day, does nothing, just eats and doesn't move. But everyone seems to be madly in love with Thor at the minute. These were the last at the shop because everyone's buying them up. But I got myself some. I mean, I'm not bothered, but you know, I'll chase a fad. I want to be part of the zeitgeist. There we go. If I didn't really think about being able to speak doing this joke. It isn't even not funny. Like an article here from the Guardian explaining the whole. That's not going to work, is it? The whole Thor situation. Who is Thor? Where's he from? Why is a walrus in the north of England so amazing? Well, we'll have a read and then after that I'll teach you some walrus facts. So, a roving walrus who delighted crowds in Scarborough on New Year's Eve has made his way back to sea from his latest resting point of Blythe on the Northumberland coast. Oh, that's where I live. Thor showed up in Blythe on Monday and slipped back into the water shortly before 7 AM on Tuesday. According to the British Divers Marine Life Rescue, BDLMR, which monitored the animal overnight. A large crowd gathered in Blythe after the walrus was seen resting on a wooden pontoon at the Yak Club. The Yak Club? The Yacht Club. Where he parked himself for an afternoon and spent the night. The juvenile male is thought to be the same walrus spotted about 100 miles south, resting on a slipway in Scarborough Harbour on the evening of the 30th December. I used to holiday as a child at Scarborough. That's where I met a certain TV celebrity called Jimmy, but we'll not get into that. He re-entered the water just 24 hours later. Quite nice, these walrus sticks. Scarborough's New Year Eves. Oh my god. Scarborough's New Year's Eve firework display was cancelled to avoid distressing the walrus, though he had already left the harbour before midnight. What a dick, ruining everyone's night. Thor, the first walrus recorded in Yorkshire, that's why it's a big deal, is thought to have been spotted much further south early in December, swimming near the Hampshire coast. It is hoped he will continue to head north to his natural habitat in the Arctic. Molly Gray, the rescue and community organiser for the BDMLR, said of Thor's visit to North Yorkshire, "It's not very normal to see walruses down here, so we imagine that it was because of climate change. He is finding places to rest in between his long journeys, and hopefully he's making his way up to north again now." Thor's the third walrus seen in the UK in the last 2 years. It could be a bit of a pattern, so we could definitely see more, but who knows? Gray said. As a protected species, the area around Thor was cordoned off and he was closely observed by marine experts. In 2022, a walrus named Freya was euthanized in Norway. because of the potential threat to human safety as visitors continuously approached her. Well, that's not her fault. Poo off. They should have been arrested for going near her. She's protected what you killed her for. Or, if we go near a walrus and it stabs you, then it's your fault. Onlookers were advised not to get too close to Thor, so he was not disturbed, and Grey advised people to stay away. Stay away! Even though it's tempting, we would recommend that people don't go to visit and stay at a distance to help us protect him. He needs to conserve his energy and to rest so that he is able to make the long journey back up to the Arctic. And that's the end of the article, and the rest is the Guardian begging me for money. No! Okay, so that's the story behind Thor. My camera looks weird. It keeps doing weird things. So, walrus facts. 1. How many walrus facts is there? 1 walrus fact. 10. 10 walrus facts. I'm getting these facts from the WWF website. I don't really know what Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior or Undertaker have to do with animals, but maybe I haven't watched WWF in ages, so maybe they fight animals now. 1. There are 2 main subspecies of walrus, the Atlantic and Pacific, which both occupy different areas of the Arctic. The Atlantic walrus lives in the seasonally ice-covered northern waters of Canada, Greenland, Norway and Russia. The Pacific walrus has a wide range between Russia and the US, Alaska, from the Bering to the Chukchi Seas, as well as the Laptev. I should read this before I do the video. But it's raw, man. It's raw. There's thought to be around 25,000 Atlantic and around 200,000 Pacific. There's not many Atlantic ones, is there? Walruses in the wild. A male walrus can weigh over a ton. Male Pacific walruses can reach 3.6 meters long and weigh over 1,500 kg. That's 1.5 tons. And big is beautiful. They need fat to stay alive. They are delicious. Both male and female walruses have tusks. Oh, I thought it was just the men. Walruses use their tusks to haul themselves out of the water and onto the sea ice. Their tusks are also used for keeping breathing holes open in the ice and fighting with other walruses, and for defense against predators. Well, a predator would just use his laser, wouldn't he? Mother walruses are very protective of their young. A female walrus can get very protective of her calf. She will pick it up with her flippers and hold it to her chest. Oh. If it's threatened before diving into the water to escape the predators. Walruses have young fairly infrequently, so it's vital for them to protect their offspring. They can live around 40 years old. Oh God. If I was a walrus, I'd be dead. They can live for around 40 years old, and it shows. Most of them carry vast maps of scars on their skin. Wounds inflicted in disputes with fellow walruses during breeding season. Walruses are rarely found in deep water. They prefer feeding at the bottom of shallow waters, eating clams, mollusks, worms, snails, soft shell, crabs, shrimp and sea cucumbers. tasty. 7. Pacific walruses spend spring and summer feeding over a huge continental shelf. They feed on the shallow continental shelf in the Chukchi Sea. I've said that completely wrong, haven't I? I'm sure no one will mention it. These walruses use sea ice for resting between feeding bouts, breeding, giving birth and nursing their young, as well as for shelter from rough seas and predators. Walruses rest on ice or ashore. Walruses prefer to rest on sea ice. Atlantic walruses routinely also rest ashore in the summer and autumn, as feeding grounds in the Atlantic are closer to the land. Wow, there's a picture and there's loads of them. Walruses are highly susceptible to disturbances and noise. That's why they cancelled the fireworks on New Year's Eve. During their mass gatherings, stampedes can occur and easily spooked walruses attempt to reach the water. Ah, there's too many walruses. The greatest threat to walruses is climate change. Melting sea ice means more Pacific walruses are resting on land further from their feeding grounds. These ever-growing gatherings can be deadly, especially for young calves. And as the Atlantic opens up to more shipping, tourism, industry and noise, the Atlantic walruses are at greater threat of disturbance and therefore stampedes. So the biggest threat to walruses is stampeding on each other. Chill, guys. Chill the frack out, walrus eyes. And there you go. There's more stuff about why climate change is bad, but I think we all know, don't we? Or as Mr. Snowflake would say, it's not real. There you go. If I wasn't so lazy and it wasn't so cold, I could have went down and filmed Thor, and you could have seen him for yourselves, but I didn't, and I hadn't, so you won't. Okay, that's the video for this morning. I'm not going to edit any of that. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and at ease, bunker boys.